Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. I'm Eoin Devereux, news and sports reporter with the Banner Press, welcoming you once again to the program. Always appreciate you taking a little bit of your time and spending it with us. Today I am joined by Kira Paterson, news reporter with the Banner Press. You should all be familiar with. Good to have you in, Kira.
Yeah, good to be here.
Yeah. More or less, yeah.
I'm happy that you're the one that's willing to be here most weeks so that we can kind of alternate with the other people.
Willing. All right, yes.
Willing.
Yeah. I am your permanent temporary host, as you know. But it's good to be able to be here and share this week's news with you. Because this is one of those papers where it's all good news, really. Mm-hmm. That's a nice change of pace from the world we live in, I think.
No kidding. Things are happening and good things are happening here, so we're quite happy to share that with you.
And you've got one thing you can share with us right on the front page of this week's edition of the Banner and Press. Neepawa Tourism, which I am familiar with, had an event go on recently, and we were very happy to be able to share this with the community. And why don't you share some of those details with us right now, Kira?
Yeah. So as you probably recall from previous weeks, the Neepawa Tourism held a drive-in movie event, and they had 2 movies on last Friday, September 24th, and people could drive in and watch the movie, as the name states. But it was really good. I think personally, it seemed a little bit fewer people than I expected. I don't know what the tourism board was expecting, but there
were only someplace close where you could ask.
Right. So was it attendance-wise? Was it as good as you were expecting?
Attendance-wise, we had set aside 250 spaces per show for people to come in, and we were optimistic, but we had no idea.
Yeah.
So there was a touch of disappointment. The first show was about 48 vehicles, and the next show was about 80, in and around 80, I believe.
Mid-80s, I think,
yep.
Yeah.
But the positive thing was that it was a fundraiser for the Roxy Theatre. And I'll throw back to you to sort of delve deeper into that.
Yeah, so as Eoin said, it was a fundraiser for the Roxy Theatre. And the cool thing was, while there were less cars than I expected to show up, the amount of money that came in was beyond my expectations for the amount of vehicles that came in. They raised nearly $1,500. I think it was, $10.50 short of $1,500.
Yep.
So it was a huge fundraiser. It was a huge success in that way. So it was really exciting to me to see that, because the Roxy has been closed for the last year and a half, almost 2 years, and they haven't been able to bring that revenue in. So any money that they can get really helps, and that big chunk of money does really help them. So I was really excited about that, because we don't want to see our Roxy have to close because they hadn't been able to be showing movies for so long, you know? But yeah, I went to the first movie. I watched it. It was the Lego movie. It was a classic. I like it. I mean, a new classic, depending on what your definition of classic is. I think it's instant classic. But I enjoyed it. It was good. Obviously, when you're doing this type of thing for the first time, there are a few hiccups. Like, for example, I didn't mention this in the story, but when I was watching it, the first maybe half hour, the sun was kind of in your eyes because you were facing to the west. So there was a little bit of sun glare in your eyes when you were watching for the first half hour, but once it got below the building, then it was fine. It was great. The lighting was fine because it's an LED screen, so you don't need it to be dark. So it was kind of dim. It wasn't pitch black, which was kind of nice because then you could see things. Your eyes weren't like straining. And it was nice and comfy. The sound was great. It worked perfectly, I think. I didn't stay for the second showing, but obviously, as Eoin said, there was almost twice as many cars for that one, so it sounded like it would be a popular night. So I was really pleased with how it went. I think that tourism was really pleased with how it went.
We had no idea really what to expect in terms of first off attendance and how things would go. But we still forged ahead anyway. We wanted to do something that was fun, that was relatively unique. We got to give a shout out to Travel Manitoba, who helped and essentially paid for the cost of bringing in the company that did this. This is an expensive endeavor under normal circumstances. We would have, if we'd paid for this, we'd have lost money. So we're very appreciative of Travel Manitoba for that. They've really supported us and all sorts of different communities throughout the province as we tried to ramp up the tourism initiative. This is the second event we've done this year. The Makers Market went over like gangbusters. Hopefully you heard us talk about it here on the show or read about it in the pages of the Banner and Press. And we have another one coming up that we're going to be talking about most likely in a future edition. Most definitely probably next week's, I'd imagine, paper. Jam Fest, another endeavor being put forward by Neepawa Tourism. There's so many people involved. I always want to stress this. This is not a town of Neepawa run endeavor. This is volunteers. This is just people in the community who care about Neepawa. And me. Well, I care about Neepawa as well. And we do this because we want people to know what a great little crown jewel this community really is. We sometimes take it for granted, and we want to share the experience with people and hope to do so for years to come. And these types of things, I talked to a few people from out of town, Brandon, Rivers, outlying communities who came in just for this. So it's always great to welcome these people. And we had a few stumbles here. As Kira said, the sun sort of just at that perfect time just blind you. The parking situation, there were a few people that were moving about, sort of finding that perfect spot. But these are learning experiences, and we hope we're able to do things like this again in the future. And if you keep supporting us the way you have been, we definitely will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was just really happy that tourism got this together and was able to offer something like this, because I've never been to a drive-in movie, so now I can check that off my bucket list. Obviously there's lots more events that they had planned and are planning, and it's really cool to see Neepawa Tourism really active in the community, because obviously they have been around for a few years, but the first year or so they were kind of finding their stride, kind of doing some behind the scenes things, sending out brochures to other communities, figuring out signage and that sort of thing. So you can see the signage and you can see some of the stuff that they are doing, but it was a little less visible, and now some of the more visible stuff is coming, and it's really great to see Neepawa Tourism just getting really entrenched in the community and making it a place where people want to be.
Once people can travel more freely, and that day will come, fingers crossed, is when we're really going to see the difference. We're going to see people coming in, spending some time in Neepawa, and spending some money in Neepawa as well. So I think that'll be fantastic. All right, let's shift gears to another thing that might draw some people into the community that's going to be in place, hopefully come the spring or early summer next year. It'll be completely completed. This is part of a story we did recently about the new swimming pool upgrades. Part of that money is also being put towards other recreational upgrades within the community. And the announcement was made last week that it's going to be new tennis and pickleball courts that are going to be over by Hillcrest, just behind Hillcrest there. If you're familiar where the basketball court is, the beach volleyball court is, just in and around there. And pickleball is it's really starting to take off throughout Canada, but there's also a club here in Neepawa, and they're very excited to be able to have this facility. It's not going to be too fancy, but it's just going to be good enough for them to be able to go out there and enjoy the game. And tennis as well, obviously a traditional sport that people still play out there. So it's great to have those. There used to be tennis courts over by the school division office. Obviously, due to the expansion and the development of the daycare facility right there, they had to be removed. But now they're getting put back in. Work is happening right now, and they hope to have pretty much everything done by the spring of next year or summer at the very latest. But I'm optimistic they'll be able to get moving on that, get things going, and we'll be able to be out there and playing some fun recreational activities sooner rather than later. Kira, what do you know about? Because I got to admit, for the most part, I didn't really know much about pickleball. It just sounded, First off, the name was hilarious. but what do you know? Do you know anything about the sport itself?
Yeah, we actually played it in school a little bit. I think it must be a fairly new thing, and they introduced it into our curriculum to kind of get us familiar with it. Similar to tennis, similar to badminton, similar to ping pong almost. But I like it better because it's a little bit slower paced. You have wooden paddles, kind of like a ping pong paddle, but you have a wiffle ball. So it's like that big plastic ball with all the holes in it. So it moves a little bit slower than a tennis ball, even a little bit slower than a badminton birdie. So I can actually hit the ball. So I always enjoyed pickleball when we did it in school because I was actually able to do it, whereas tennis, it just flies right past me, and same with badminton. So it's a really good way to keep in shape and to feel good about your athletic abilities.
Well, it's a lot of fun from what I hear. The Director of Rec Services here in Neepawa, Nicole Cooper, was very excited about bringing this into the community. It's something that has been anxiously awaited. There is a solid pickleball club here, about 20 members. Val Durama talked to me a little bit about that, about how this sport, it's not about competition. It's not about the winning and losing. You sort of keep score, you sort of don't. It depends on the person. It's about that camaraderie. It's about getting out there and being active and meeting up with people and getting a chance to socialize in that way. That, I think, is the main reason why pickleball is really just sort of blossomed into this great developing sport that's just going nationwide. And I'm looking forward to sort of seeing that done and seeing that back here in Neepawa once again. All right, there's so much new. Like, we commented off air there that this is the new story behind the stories, because every story is about something new happening or something new being installed or established in the community. And this is another one. This is a project that's been going on for several years. It's great to be able to share some of these details, and it's something Home Hardware, our local Neepawa Home Hardware, has been associated with for a long time. It's a tree planting initiative, and they did that with Tree Canada. I forgot the name of the organization. It was so simple. What is this tree story about? They're putting trees throughout Canada. What's the name of that organization? Tree Canada.
Wow.
All right. No, that makes sense. That was very well thought out on their part. And they put some trees down just along the highway, heading west out of town. It's an endeavor that they do almost every single year. They partner with Home Hardware. They put about a dozen of them down there. And it's one of those little beautification things that maybe you sort of take a little for granted over the years. But you'd miss trees if you didn't have them. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, this time of year, especially in Neepawa, you go into the kind of the older parts of town where there are trees that are more established, and you just see all the beautiful leaves, and it's just it's picturesque in our town, the amount of trees that we have. So it's really cool to see that there will be more coming, and in future generations, people will be able to see this massive tree with beautiful golden leaves in the fall in a newer area of town.
That's right. I had an opportunity to speak with Tree Canada rep Ken Fosty about it and about the history of it. I had a chance to speak with Michelle Girard, who is one of the owners and operators for Neepawa Home Hardware. They have been so supportive over the years of this endeavor. It's wonderful to see locally owned, locally operated businesses like this seeing the bigger picture and seeing the bigger values within the community. And that's really, we like sharing these types of stories with people. If you'd like to see that story, it's actually in our B section. We got two sections this week, an A section and a B section. It's not really a special section, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. But you can find that in the B section on page B2. B2. I'm calling the bingo now.
Apparently, you're hired.
All right. So let's talk about, we're going to, much like a pickleball game, just going to slowly paddle it back over to you, Kira. This story you worked on in terms of a new face in a certain place.
Yes. So for those who are familiar with hand, Home Assistance Neepawa and District, you will know that Jeannie Barnaby, the resource coordinator there, is retiring, and she's been there for 30 years. 30 years and 2 months, I believe she told me in the interview. And
you don't really have to emphasize the 30 like that. Like, oh my God, 30 years forever.
I just mean that she's been in this community and helping this community for so long, right? It's a great achievement. I'm not calling anybody old, Owen. Jeez.
My God, the 90s were so long ago.
But yeah, so Jeannie has been a very integral part of this community, and she is retiring as coordinator, and we have a new face coming in Michelle Ferguson. And Michelle Ferguson is not new to the community. She is not even new to the scene of helping seniors. She has been working in home care for about 20 years, and now she's going to be based at Hand, and she's going to be the new resource coordinator, helping seniors find resources and helping them find different things that they need to live a comfortable life at home, and to continue to be active and just live their lives. So it's very exciting. My story went fairly in depth into some of Jeannie's memories, some of her experiences, some of her time at Hand, and then I do talk to Michelle and get her take on coming in and how excited she is to get started. So definitely give that a read, get some of the history and get some of the information on Michelle, and find out how it's going to be a new chapter, and it's going to be an exciting chapter in the Home Assistance Neepawa and District time, I guess.
No, that is really great. It's such a class organization. I mean, they're doing such positive work in the community and the region as well. So it's wonderful to be able to share this and to sort of put a spotlight on an individual who has been doing such quality work for, again, 3 decades. Mm-hmm. And sort of give the positive vibes over to that next person who's going to be able to take that baton, that figurative baton, and continue to run with it. Mm-hmm. So wonderful to be able to see that on the pages of this week's paper. All right, new business. I keep saying new. I mean, the word's lost all meaning to me now. It just, but there's a new business in the community. Mm-hmm. And this is one that really everybody sort of, as soon as they hear about it, it's like, yeah, you're a little jazzed about it.
Exactly. This is something that you might have seen ads for in the last couple weeks and been like, what is that? So I went and I talked to the business owner and the manager and assistant manager and got the lowdown on this store. So I will end the suspense. It is called Rockin' Animal House. It is a pet supply store. They are not open just yet, but they are planning to open mid-October. And the owner is Kevin Harris. He used to own Harris Pharmacy. He's well entrenched in the community. He knows a lot of people here and people know him. So he's really excited to be getting back into the business world. And he is partnering with Danielle Bell, who will be his manager, and Danielle's daughter, Stephanie Bell. She will be the assistant manager. So I spoke to them. I got some details on what the store will be carrying, who the store is going to be catering to, and all that kind of a thing. So they're really excited to be sharing the information with us. They're really excited to be getting closer to opening, and to be getting involved in the community, and to be able to offer pet supplies, because we do have, you can go to Giant Tiger, you can go to Safeway, you can go to Co-op, and get some pet supplies. But obviously, because those are stores that are geared towards groceries and other, like, more in general stuff, they don't have quite as much, what's the word? Variety. And so Kevin and Danielle and Stephanie, they really want to be able to offer all this variety of higher quality products, different brands that people can't find in town, so they don't have to make that trip to Brandon for the specialty food that they want for their dog or for their cat, because people do care about their pets and they want them to have the best. So it is really exciting that there's going to be more to choose from in this town in terms of pet supplies. Right now they're going to be focusing on dogs and cats because that's kind of the predominant pet in town. But if people have not gophers, hamsters, or I don't know why I thought gophers. Don't get a gopher. Come
Great.
on.
Now that's the only thing I'm going to be thinking about for the rest of the day. Pet gophers. Is that a thing?
If people have hamsters, if they have hedgehogs, if they have rabbits, something like that, go to the store once it's open, ask them if they can get anything in for their pets, and they will work their hardest to try and supply something for you. They're also doing grooming. They're really excited to get going with dog grooming, cat grooming, clipping nails, shampoo, haircuts, all that kind of thing, and just to have all these things that people need in this community that they normally would have to go to Brandon to get.
It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to being able to check it out myself. I got a little dog, a mix, half lab, half dachshund. Don't know how that happened, but melded together into this little scrappy thing called Ace. And Ace is very particular. I mean, he does not like the dry food. We're trying to, myself and my housemates, we're trying to get him consistently to like the dry food, and he just, every time, he's just, really? What is this? And just, not having it. So hopefully be able to buy some types of varieties of food from there where Ace will actually start eating it on a consistent basis instead of just giving us attitude. So looking forward to that.
Oh, the things we do for our pets, right?
Yep. All right, let's head out into the fields right now. Obviously this time of year, there is a lot of crop that is coming off the fields. And considering the year we had, there was a lot of fear and trepidation about what it would be coming off as in terms of its condition and in terms of its yield. Every single year, the Neepawa Airport project comes through. It's a fundraiser, essentially, just behind Stella Jones, just closer to the airport there. And there was a little bit of fear that the numbers would not be positive this year. But the numbers were surprisingly positive. I mean, 375 acres of canola has been coming off the field this year, and that's a positive. That's a real positive. It yielded mid-20s. I think it was about 27 or 28 per bushel.
Bushels per acre, yeah.
Yep. So that's from what they tell me. from what the people who know what they're talking about tell me, that's all right. Considering all the circumstances that were dealt with in the fields, with the drought, with the heat, just the lack of it stunk. Let's not mince words. This summer stunk for many, many farmers. So to see and to hear some positivity, that's great. And this is a story written by Casper Werhan about the project. They had done a lot of work on it. They'd been following it from when it started earlier this year. So kudos to Casper for continuing through the chain here and following up on this. So anything else you want to add into this, Kira?
No, I just thought it was really cool that Casper was able to actually get inside the combine and get kind of a behind the scenes look at things. I didn't even know that Casper had gotten this story until I saw the pictures in the folder of, these can go on the pages. I was like, I didn't know that we'd actually heard back from them and were able to get some pictures. So, and then seeing that Casper was able to talk to the people there and get up close and personal, it was really cool that Casper was able to get that angle on it, because usually for me it's just a drive down there, see if they're out in the field and snap a few pictures of the combine and go. Yep. So Casper did a really good job on this one. I have to commend them.
A little bit above and beyond, which is great to see. And a shout out as well, we should definitely give a shout out to Enns Brothers, who are the catalysts behind this each and every year. Once again, home hardware, Enns Brothers, all these Neepawa Tourism, obviously, all these local groups, local businesses, local community endeavors moving forward, trying to sort of do some positivity. It's wonderful to be able to see. All right. We only got a few minutes left, so we're going to breeze right through a couple things, including another. Everybody is just so kind.
Just good people.
Fuel Good Day, another local endeavor by a local business.
Yes. So Neepawa Gladstone Co-op got on board with co-ops across Canada for Fuel Good Day, which was on September 21st. And we weren't able to get the numbers from that for last week's paper, so we saved it for this week's paper. And we got some pictures in Neepawa. They had the Yellowhead Roadrunners, who do a scholarship every year in the school, and so the money was going to the Yellowhead Roadrunners. So they also were involved in a barbecue there, and they had a little car show there. So I was able to get some pictures there. And Gladstone, Neepawa Gladstone Co-op. Gladstone was also doing it, and their money was going towards the upgrades for the pool in Gladstone. Actually, I think they're doing an entirely new pool. So lots of money is needed there. So it was really cool to see some really good causes being supported that way. And they did get a good amount of money, over $3,500 between the two locations. So it was really exciting to see some funds raised for some good local causes.
That's right. And you can find those pictures right on the front cover of Section B. We got a B section this week. And we did that because fire safety this week. We covered all the different fire departments throughout our readership area. We always like to sort of give a little bit of attention to those individuals who in many cases volunteer their time and their safety to keeping us safe. So these individuals definitely deserve that spotlight, and we're very proud to be able to do that each and every year. So it's a 4-pager this year, and you can find it in the B section, pages B3 through B6, just after the tree planting program story and just before sports. Kira's happy because we don't have time to talk about sports on this week's edition of the Story Behind the Stories.
Lucky us.
Yay! But no, it's wonderful, and there's a lot of work that's put in behind the scenes. John Drinkwater, Diane Warner, Kira as well. You were instrumental in sort of putting together these pages as well.
Yeah.
So,
just in the layout mostly. All the hard work was done by other people. I just did the easy last stuff.
all the glory.
All the finishing work. That's what I do.
So go ahead and take a few minutes and go through there. These are very significant individuals, and we are always appreciative of them and what they do. All right, so there isn't nearly enough time for us to be able to cover each and every story in this week's paper. And that's a good thing usually. I mean, that means we weren't just sitting at our desk here staring at the lights.
Only for a short time from time to time.
But if you want to check out those stories, if you're interested in the sports section, the Titans, high school football starting up, a great submitted story from Neepawa Figure Skating Club. Wonderful that they're going to be starting up again after last year's hiatus. Really glad to be able to share some of those details. You can find a copy of the paper. You can either find it on mywestman.ca, the digital copy, or go around Neepawa and surrounding area and find one of those yellow bins or a black bin and pick up a hard copy. We always appreciate that. And if you have any story ideas or suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. And you can do so by contacting us either at news@neepawabanner.com. If it's a sports-related item, sports@neepawabanner.com. Though I receive both emails pretty much in the same place, so, tomato, tomato. If you want to get in touch with Kira, pages@neepawabanner.com. Give us a phone call, 476-3401, the number we can be reached at. We appreciate it. If you have an opinion, letters to the editor. I want to stress this. First off, real quick, we've been getting so many letters as of late, we're going to have to it's going to be about 400 or less now. We're going to have to sort of cut down the amount because some people are starting to turn into epic Greek poems of words, and we do appreciate it. But at the same time, we're sometimes we can't fit it all in. And that's unfortunate, but that's the reality of it. So, we do want to hear your opinions, whether it's a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a letter to the editor. We do appreciate it. And once again, Kira, thank you very much for sitting in again. Always great.
Thanks for doing most of the work.
This is the glory here. I stare at the lights while they do the work. So, and thank you for again tuning in each and every week for the story behind the stories.